Welcome to the NHL Wraparound podcast featuring Neil Smith, President General Manager of the 1994 Stanley Cup champion New York Rangers, and longtime ESPN NHL veteran Vic Morin. Together, they share no-nonsense opinions on news and issues around the National Hockey League. Whether you're a casual or diehard fan, each episode of NHL Wraparound will leave you more informed. Now, here's your hosts, Neil and Vic.
This is the NHL Wraparound Hall of Fame edition. Vic Morin, along with Neil Smith. And a couple of weeks ago, we launched this franchise with Scotty Bowman being our first guest. And our latest guest is a 2023 inductee to the Hockey Hall of Fame and one of only 48 players, Neil, entering the 25-26 season to have scored 500 goals in his career.
It has been, or was, an amazing career for Pierre Turgeon, who I got the good fortune to know over his career. And Pierre, thank you for coming on and doing this show. And congratulations once again. There's no higher honor.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, thank you. It is an honor. It is definitely an honor just to be part of the group, and you look at the name all attached there, and especially that night when you're getting inducted, and it's you're looking around that room and you go, okay, this is it's just a privilege just to be on top of here and being on the stadium watching the people in front of you. So hey, and I played hockey for a living, so. That's pretty cool.
Life has been in that way. Life has been very good. I got to ask you. We try to say a lot of silly things on this show, but one of the things that I want to go back to your junior days. Isn't it sort of curious that you played for the Granby Bisons, the Granby Bisons, and then were drafted by Buffalo?
Yeah.
So you're the Bisons and then you're a Buffalo.
It's true. Yeah. So it's funny because you get a junior and got drafted, played there 2 years, and then Buffalo is the next step. Then I was 18, couldn't speak much English, and that was a challenge. It took me a year or 2 years to really feel more comfortable, and I was really surrounded with good people, and especially a guy like Jacques Cloutier. That was a good friend of mine, still a good friend of mine, and we from the same town. He's just older than me, but I was able to communicate with him when he was the goalie for the Sabres, and he really helped me to ease myself into be part of the Sabres. So yeah, that was cool.
You were such a natural athlete, and we'll get to all of that in a minute. But I mean, you were only 16 years old the whole season, 85-86, to score 114 points. And get this, Vic, his team had 4 different head coaches that year. That's how bad the team was. You got 47 goals and 114 points. As a 16-year-old playing major junior hockey, I mean, if you weren't a natural, I don't know what is.
To me, I never. It's funny because it was all the game. It was all about the game of hockey, and I love putting my 2 feet on the ice. And when I got my 2 feet on the ice, I got to be in a place where, in a bubble. And you just be in the moment, and there's nothing. And I always say this it's weird to say, but doing meditation, because you're in that moment. There's nothing matters as is being in the moment, and you're not thinking about tomorrow, the next day, what's happening in your life. And I was blessed to do it for a lot of years. And when I went to Granby, I was surrounded, and we had a couple coach, obviously we did, but I was surrounded great players, and I learned a lot the first year, being a 16, and then my last year I was able to come out and had a great season, so to move on, and I was obviously drafted by Buffalo after that, which was incredible. But I always look at it more as I was blessed to play hockey, and I was blessed to do something I love, and every time I get in that moment, it's just there's nothing matter. It's just in that time, so it was pretty cool.
But even before that, you were a hell of a baseball player, and When I was back at ESPN in the early 1990s, we would run video of you and Stefan Matteau when you guys faced off in the opening round of 94, when you were playing for Canada in the Little League World Series. And tell our listeners, what position did you play? And I got a follow up to that when you give us your answer.
It's funny because so when you think about Rouyn-Noranda, that's 7 hours north from from Montreal, and Rouyn-Noranda was two town, and we needed to win, to Rouen to get out, and so we went all over Canada to represent Canada. Rouen representing Canada, and we won mini tournaments before we went to Little League World Series. And what an amazing experience. And then I was 5'11" at that point. I was 11 years old. I was taller than the coaching staff. I was taller. I was tall on this guy. And then I was a pitcher. Stefan Matteau was a pitcher. So we used to alternate, me and him. And so we had a chance. And then they didn't count the pitches like today they are counted. So you need many pitchers. It's a little different. So we used to alternate, me and Stefan, back and forth, and we were able to, and we finished fourth, and we lost against Taiwan in the semi. I was in semifinal, and 10-7 if I'm not mistaken. But we came back from behind, and we had like 25,000 people watching the game. We're 11 years old. You're looking around, so this is crazy. Wow, just being part of that, and what an experience. And coming back home after that, you should have seen at the airport the people waiting for us. It was just like we were like, whoa, 11 years old, like coming in town and said, okay, we got it, So amazing experience, and we had great players too. It was not only me and Stefan. We had great players that were surrounding our team, and they chipped them to move forward, and we're able to be part of representing Rouen in Canada at the same time in the Little League World Series. That was pretty cool.
You lived in Colorado for a bit, and now you're in Florida, but you do have your three kids that you visit often in Colorado. And just curious, Rockies fan? Because this is a pretty lean year in Denver at 40 wins and 107 losses as we record this today.
Yeah. Listen, Colorado is a beautiful place. It's gorgeous. We were there 2005 up to 4 years ago, and we got to, the Bronco and to baseball and all that part. I mean, what a sport town, And so I was able to be a part of the town for a lot of years. And now we go back. We go back once a month or try to go back to see the kids. And we have grandkids now, so that means we're getting older too. So, but it's a fun place to go visit. And we do. We're very lucky. We have a place in Vail too, so we go spend some time in Vail. We bring the kids, and I used to go a lot more in the winter. Now I'm wearing shorts a little longer, so that so we go there in the summer a little more. But what a beautiful place to live, and so we go visit a lot too, for sure.
And of course, you wrapped up your career with the Avalanche, but I want to go back to the hockey piece now. And your best season ever was that 92-93 season, with 58 goals, 132 points, all career highs. But one of the things that people are going to most remember is the hit that you absorbed in Game 6 against the Washington Capitals at the hands of Dale Hunter. And we were doing a little exchange, Neil and myself, and he had shared that Hunter had actually called you a few days later to apologize, not realizing that you had scored the clinching goal for that series, which to this day I find hard to believe because you are coming up the near boards with your arms raised. And how could somebody mistake that for, just a regular play on the ice?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously it's been so many years, it's fine. But so it was the situation, and it was kind of eliminating the Washington, and we were able to move on. And I couldn't really move on the next series, but I dressed the last game against Pittsburgh, and we won against Pittsburgh after that. So, but I got to see the team we had at that point, even with that situation, we were able to move on and do well. And I acquired the success year we had there because of, I think, Al Arbor was the core of our group, and he really made us believe that we could go through a big wall, and we could go through, beat Pittsburgh. And at the beginning, we're like, what's the chance to beat Pittsburgh? Not much, but he goes, yeah, we'll beat them. I said, okay, let's go with the flow and see. And we actually brought it up to Game 7. And if we remember well, David Volek scored for a one-timer for a shot from pass from Maurice Richard.
Yep.
And we were able to make it and went in overtime. And actually, dress. I was asking Al Arbor if I could dress the last game. He goes, can you play? I said, I can't play. And I actually dressed, and I could see the level going down, and it was overtime, and he comes behind me. He goes, "You ready?" And I had one shoulder, and I said, "Yes, I'm ready." So I was so pumped. I wanted to go out there and just play. And next thing you know, we scored the next shift, and I don't know if it was going to send me anyway, but I was ready to go anyway, just because I could see the level going down. And I said, I had lots of energy. I could do this. And so it turned out that we won, and we went against Montreal after that, and lost against Montreal and Patrick Roy and all this stuff. So, but the experience I had that year, we're still in contact with all these guys, the 93 guys, but Al Arbor had such an impact on all of us. And I learned so much from the guy. He had a lot of wisdom, and he's been around for many years, and he was just a guy that made you believe that you could go to a brick wall if you needed to. So I learned a lot from him, for sure.
I looked up a couple of things, Pierre, that I enjoy this kind of these weird relationships that are in hockey, that you have to bring them up to get somebody to speak about them. But I didn't realize you played junior those 2 years with Stefan Quintal, and who I know well, who I signed for the Rangers at some point. And then he had a good career in the NHL. Stefan did. It was a Boston Bruin pick.
Yeah. Stefan was an incredible player, steady, big boy, could really, and he could fight too once in a while, but really he had a good bounce, and he had a good stick, and, could make good decisions, move that puck well, and what a career he had. And it's funny, now he lives in close to, we skate in Florida. So he lives in Florida now, so we skate together once in a while. And so I see Stefan, a couple of times a week when I'm back. And so it's always nice to see him. And I had a great year with him. We played in Montreal together for a short period of time too. So, what a career he had. Great guy. And it was fun to, and then Eric Desjardins, played with us in junior too. What a hockey player. Incredible. We're from the same town also. And what a great career he had. Steady guy, could score big goals when they won in Montreal and the Stanley Cup. And what a player, what a person too. So, those guys were definitely had great careers.
And one of my favorite hockey stories about Stefan Quintal was, and I don't know if it's true or not, you'll have to ask him, but I knew, of course, all the scouts for all the different teams, right? And I was told that his first year that he went to Bruins training camp, he didn't speak English. And so he would get all the guys used to go to this little diner, I guess, to eat in between the sessions at training camp. Yeah. And he sat down at the bar, where the waitress is, and some Boston guy, with their heavy accent, sitting beside him and says, "Hey, what's your name?" And he says, "Quintal." And the guy goes, "What do you mean you can't tell? Why can't you tell? Tell me what your name is."
Yeah, I'm dying to hear that one. But yeah, I'm not surprised. That's funny.
Yeah. Then the other relationship I wanted to touch on, because he was a great friend of mine and a great person. You must have felt a little bit more comfortable going to the Islanders when Clark Gillies played with you a little bit with the Buffalo Sabres, correct? And then he was in Long Island, not for the Islanders anymore, but was the ambassador when you got there to the Islanders.
What a person. Wow. He was such a quality guy, obviously on the ice, tough guy, but off the ice, incredible. So I knew, it's funny because I get to Buffalo my first year, and he's sitting right beside me, and I know who he is, obviously, and I can't speak English, so I'm looking at him. He's got the huge beard going in. I'm thinking, you scare the shit out of me. I'm just looking at him like, you're playing with me. Thank God you're playing with me, but I can't even communicate with him. It's funny because, and then at that point, later on in life, and when I moved and for the Islanders, I was able to really had a great conversation with him. He had great hockey story, and he was just a fun guy to be around. You know what I mean? So, but what an impressive guy on the ice. What a hockey player, first of all, and then as a great person, and then tough. Ooh, was he tough? But I was able to be around him. I loved the older guys, the older story too, and especially Brian Trutz, who was there too. They were just get together, and all of a sudden they just light up with stories, and it was just fun to hear all those. It was very cool.
And then, of course, you had more comfort because your buddy Benoit Hogue, you got to play with him in Buffalo, and then he was on the Islanders as well with you.
Yeah, so I was able to we were together in Buffalo and had some good quality time there, many good years, and then we got traded together for the Islanders. So we played together for 5-6 years, and after that we played in Dallas together for a short period of time too. So we had great years, and we're still in great friends. I still talk to him a couple of times a year, and so every time I go in Long Island, I see him, so we chat. So I love the guy. So, but great guy, great friend, and I was really never really playing the same line together. But once in a while we tweet, but we played a long time together. Great guy, awesome.
My last one of the history, walking back down memory lane for you, is not a pleasant memory, but it's one that, I mean, you've got to tell us about this night. Was March 22nd, 1989. You're playing in a game against St. Louis, and Huey Krupp smashes into Clint Malarchuk, and probably the worst accident ever to happen in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I was sitting on the bench at that point. Someone drove the net, but what we knew about is the referee went after the incident that was in the corner after the flow. The referee went in front of Clint and asked Clint, I said, "You okay?" And he goes, "Yes, I am." Even after that. So it took a little bit of time. So then he turned around, and then we're all watching this. And obviously Clint is on his knee, trying to hold up. In this, it was just an incredible scene. But and then Pizza, which is the trainer for Buffalo, jumped on the ice, put the right amount of pressure on it. And my understanding, there's someone from the stand, it was a doctor that actually was there during that time, jumped over the railing and said, "I'm taking care of this," and took over the situation and saved his life, really. So, and what an incredible situation. That's scary stuff, yeah.
And the trainer was an Army medic from what I recall reading, and that probably in large part just helped him jump right into action.
Everything. He jumped on a second. He was there. He was putting the right amount of pressure. There's a lot. I mean, it happened quick. So if you don't react quick to that situation, it could have been for sure a worse situation. So, so we were there during that time. I was looking at this, and even that, you're trying to finish the game. You feel like, you're not even into finishing the game. It's not So it was a bad situation, and obviously it turned out to be okay after that. But wow, that was scary stuff. Very scary.
Yeah.
He came back 10 days later, and Steve Tuttle was the Blues player that Krupp had tripped up and forced him into Malarchuk. So I just wanted to come full circle on that one.
Okay. I didn't remember exactly. I thought it was someone from skate that flew in the air, and I didn't know if it was Huey or not, but so crazy. Very crazy.
Pierre, moving on to more better things. Although I do think that was important because, you bring up the Clint Malarchuk thing and you say, yeah, I was playing in that game. I mean, you were like, what? You played in that game? Because that game is going to always be renowned. But I want to ask you, like, okay, so you were you were first eligible to go into the Hall of Fame in 2010. You come in 2023. I mean, as long as you're in the Hall of Fame, who cares what year? I know that's true. But do you think that perhaps one of the reasons why your great play over the years and your phenomenal numbers that you put up and that were maybe not appreciated as much as they should is because you didn't have the good fortune to play on many contending teams for the Stanley Cup? Like, there are players who are fabulous players. Marcel Dion is a good example of it, if you want to talk about. They just don't get that opportunity. Does it mean that they are not winners? No, that doesn't mean. It means that they weren't in that situation. And then you have other players who never came close to the thing, but all of a sudden got fortunate at the trading deadline and got put onto a team that was a contender, like Kyle Oposo, and now his name's on the Stanley Cup. And he was always light years from the Stanley Cup, playing for the Islanders and for the Sabres. But he had that situation. But you, Pierre, superstar player, but never were given that chance. Do you think that may be one of the reasons that people didn't appreciate your play as much as they should have?
Well, yeah, I think it's a place I don't go there too. The only thing I could say, we all want to win a Stanley Cup. We all want, you got to be at the right place, right time. There's only one team that wins it every year, of 32 teams. So, and then you got to be healthy. Your goalies are going to be. There's a lot of things that could, impact all that. Did it impact it to take, a little bit longer? Probably. But there's guys that went in, that never won the Stanley Cup, and they were. But at the end of the day, the way I see it, for me personally, is. And I said that earlier. I play hockey for a living. That's crazy, And then I played it for many years, and I, so I didn't have that control to say, when am I going to go in? Am I not going to go in, or what's going to happen? But I was so blessed to do it for a lot of years. I loved the game of hockey. And I always told my wife, I said, if it happens, it happens. And if it doesn't, she goes, it needs to happen. And you know why? Because you have a lot of people that you got to have a place to share. You got to be able to thank them, and what a platform to have to be able to share and thank the people that help you to get there. And I should go, okay, I think that's good. So you know what, blessed to play hockey. I was so blessed to be nominated to be a part of the Hall of Fame. But having that platform and thanking a lot of people that helped me to get there is a beautiful place to be, for sure.
But of all the places that you played, you only played 104 games for the Canadiens, but you were honored with perhaps one of the great moments in hockey history. And I've shared this with Neil numerous times, that of spending 4 decades in hockey myself, the favorite night of my career was March 11th, 1996, and the closing of the Montreal Forum. And all things considered, you didn't play on a lot of contenders, you didn't win the Stanley Cup, but you talk about something, right place, right time, and that ceremony that night was one of the most stirring things I think anybody that was part of that night would say. It's something they never forget. I bought 3 seats after that event. And for you to have been on that carpet, and Butch Bouchard brings out the torch and he hands it to Jean Beliveau, who hands it to Yvan Cournoyer, to Henri Richard, Serge Savard, Bob Gainey, Guy Carbonneau, and Pierre Turgeon is the final Canadiens captain to exit the Forum. Can you describe the largesse of that experience for you?
Yeah. It's a highlight. It's the highlight of my career. When, like you said it, be at the right place, the right time. It's just I was the captain there, and when they did the ceremony, obviously, and if you remember the Rocket having the standing ovation for 7 minutes, everyone was he was just looking around. He couldn't say a word because the fan was just going crazy. But then he had the red carpet going all the way down the ice. and I still have goosebumps when I talk about it. But having just the people on the ice, I mean Jean Beliveau and the Rocket and all the guys you name, Bob Gaining, and just being a part of that was just a privilege, and you're looking around and whoa, this is something big here. And as a kid growing up north of Montreal, looking at the Montreal Canadiens, you're looking up, you're like, whoa. And now you're seeing, it makes you rewind your career too at that point. You're like, whoa, this is amazing just being part of it. And, but it is one of the highlight of my career, obviously. And then, and that's in history, and it's going to be there forever. So, but that was very unique playing in that forum too. It was just something very special when you played there, and being part of that last night was an incredible night for sure. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Pierre, there's a lot of, often on here we try to talk about something that's not talked about very often, and that's the families of the people that are in the game. And I know how much the biggest commodity that we own as humans is time. It's our best commodity. And I know how much time you took away from your family to have the brilliant career you had and be traveling and everything. And certainly they have to be very, very supportive and in that time. Can you tell us about your family? Because I know you and I share a little bit of a bond that we don't want to share, but anyway, it's I think it's important to talk about your family a little bit.
Sure. So I mean, obviously, our you grew up and you miss a lot when during their activities, their school, and next thing you know, when I stopped playing, I was back involved in coaching hockey with the kids. And so it was, and then my wife being there and supporting all the, you move all the time. It's not an easy thing to do. You move around and it's just, and then we did have that struggle like you're sharing, and we could talk about. I lost my daughter in a car accident when in 2010, she was 18 years old, and I was able to coach her for a couple years. And thank God for that. I was very blessed that I was able to really share some good time with her. And but I'm going to say this: that for 2 years, and even now, it's. I think you learn how to live with it. That's just a struggle. But for 2 years, you're kind of stuck in mud, and you want to get up, and you don't feel like getting up, and then you're pissed off, or you're mad at God, or your higher power, and why, and you could go back and forth. But it was a very a hard time in her life, and she was a twin. Her sister was Alexandra, and so that was a struggle for my daughter to go through that too, and the rest of the family. But even my wife but I think now I don't want to waste the time I have with the rest of my family and the kids, and we embrace that time, and we have grandkids now. So I just want to grab that and just to enjoy it as much as I can. And when it's time to go, it's going to be time to go. I'm not afraid of going, but before I go, I'm going to have a good time on this planet for sure. I want to enjoy life. But it was a struggle for a lot of years, and I have my moments here and there. So it's not an easy place for sure.
Yeah. I think it's important that people understand that you and Vic and I talk about this wonderful life and the great things you've done, and first overall, and Granby, and all the teams and the goals and the Hall of Fame and the Montreal Forum and being captain of the Habs. But you'd give it all back to have her back. And that's something that people don't know. They don't know this stuff. They only know the highlights. And I think it's important that we bring into the reality of the situation of people who have led a blessed life like you and I have led, and Vic. But there's also the other side of the life that is reality that people don't see. So God bless you and your wife. And I know what you mean. It's something that never you learn how to live life with that in the background.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's life is good. I'm not gonna say that it's not. I am gonna embrace it, and I want to want to enjoy the moment as much as I can. I don't want to future trip too much. I don't want to be looking too far. I just want to be in and out as much as I can. So we could just, it doesn't need to be big things. It could be smaller things. It could be, this is me thinking here, it could be a bird flying by. It could be a branch. It could be a trees. It could be a mountain. It could be water. And you just stop and looking at it to say, okay, this is pretty nice. It doesn't need to be big. You know, it's something we have it in front of us every day, and we could just stop it and just make us realize that it's we're pretty lucky to be here.
And you're a big-time golfer also, so I'm sure the sight of a ball disappearing into the distance straight off the tee is pretty important for you too.
I love golfing. Am I a good golfer? I'm going to say this. It's a challenging game, and I have a lot of appreciation for the game. I love playing. It's been a couple of years now. The last couple of years, I got involved more than ever. But, it makes you appreciate how good they are, these guys, the way they do it, the way they play. But just being out there, again, it's just you're connecting with nature. It's green everywhere. You're chatting with the boys. I love the time being out there. So, but at the same time, you want to do well because we're competitive. That's what we do. You know? So, but I try to play a couple of times a week now, play golf for sure.
Good for you. Last question before we wrap it up, Pierre. I have to ask you because I was with Detroit Red Wings in 1983. And of course, we were going to be 4th overall pick. And the names that we were studying were Steve Yzerman and Pat LaFontaine, and of course, your brother, Sylvain Turgeon. And the draft ended up that year going Brian Lawton to Minnesota, Sylvain Turgeon going to Hartford, Pat LaFontaine going to the Islanders, Steve Yzerman going to Detroit. And so how is Sylvain doing and what's he doing?
He's doing well. He lives in Calgary, and the kids are all older now. And he's working for a big a building that is in charge. He fixes everything. That's what he does. He's just good at everything. I don't know. He didn't learn that from me. I'll tell you that right now. And but yeah. So he's great guy. He's doing well, Calgary, but he's probably one that he had the most impact in my career. Obviously, being 4.5 years older than me, I look up to him, and I wanted to do the same that he did. So he was a huge influence in my career, and I'm very, very thankful for that.
Well, we're thankful for you coming on here, Pierre, and doing this with us. And you're the second of what we hope or what we know will be a long list of people doing the Hall of Fame. It's nice to be able to talk about your career and not have to talk about who won last night and who lost last night and what do you think of this and what do you think of that. So thank you so much for doing this, Pierre. And both Vic and I have so much respect for you and so much for your career and what you've done and the gentleman that you are as well. So
same to you guys. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it. That was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Pierre. Neil, Pierre Turgeon was a gentleman on the ice and could not have been more gracious in the half hour that we spent with him today.
Oh, he's just a wonderful guy. I got to meet him at part of the alumni for the Islanders, and just down to earth, great guy. But Vic, isn't it typical of hockey guys? So 99% of them are down to earth, humble guys, and know that they're blessed that they got the chance to make a living out of playing a game they were playing as a kid.
It was so poignant how grateful he is for the world that he still has, even though he lost a daughter. And of course, you went through a very similar tragedy. And the way the two of you have approached going forward, that you always have the memories, the wounds never heal, but you're still grateful for what you have. And I thought that you and Pierre were really extraordinary in that exchange.
I at the end when he was talking about how I like the moments, it may be a branch, it may be a tree, it could be something, but I live in the moment and I don't think ahead, and how many times have I told you that that's what I do? And that's how I survive, is to think about this moment and enjoy this moment and get as much as I can out of it. And I think anybody that's listening, if I could ever give anybody some advice, it would be try to live in the moment. You'll be a lot happier.
And Pierre certainly lives exactly that way. And another terrific interview for the Hall of Fame edition of NHL Wraparound.
Yeah, he was just great. And I don't know, Vic, we're getting pretty lucky with these guys here. They're all good. I mean, we haven't, I don't know that we've had a bad one yet. Let's hope we don't.
Well, rather to be lucky than good. And we certainly look forward to having our next Hall of Famer joining us at some point. And please join us for NHL Wraparound next week, when we will return as training camps will have begun. And we're going to start to move our way into the start of the 2025-26 season. So we'll speak with you then.
Thanks for joining us on the NHL Wraparound podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date on all the NHL action.